Alright guys, so we've got both sticks out now. I'm running with the Venom one, and then we're running with this Mad Cat stick. So this is my first proper attempt at stick play. So let's give it a go, shall we?
So this one we'll be looking at it a little bit more from the perspective of...
I do.
Yeah, I kind of obviously know what I'm talking about with the stick. So I was talking about some of the more technical stuff. And now obviously Brophers here is more the target audience of having a beginner stick for a stick beginner.
Yeah, especially if someone's been more used to playing with pad, they're going to start getting used to it.
I'm on the wrong side, so I have to change the buttons slightly.
Oh, you've done the button layout different this one.
Yeah, it's just your L1, L2, the M2 buttons, which you don't really need in this game anyway.
Sure. Which fancy button?
Wherever you want.
Go to the stick. Right, so I'll go as my main. Same mode.
I'm not going to go Bison because that wouldn't really be fair.
You wouldn't see me use a stick.
I'm going to go Bison.
Dolphin. This is the part of it.
I'm saying the Darkworld colour.
I'm liking it.
Bison.
I'm hoping to use the button again.
I believe there is. I don't know if you need to go all the way to being a hard mode to a battle.
One day.
Certainly the normal being.
For those who I wish to protect, I will fight.
How do you find the stick sort of size-wise sat on the lap?
Yeah, fits perfect actually. As you said, it's got a blue one.
Yeah, it's a little bit easier for you because you've got the skinny legs now. Yeah.
Thanks. It is a lot different sort of the edge. No, that's part of the use but it does feel like this compared to that.
Yeah,
it seems like a whole new technique rather than.
Obviously, the arcade stick kind of came about from the arcades.
Yeah,
clues in the name.
Back in the original day.
Yeah, and obviously a lot of these fighting game types did used to be arcade exclusive. To the extent that I believe Street Fighter 5 is the first Street Fighter game that it wasn't an arcade release.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Did not.
It wasn't an arcade
Yeah.
now. But yeah, so obviously a lot of people in the early 90s, 80s I suppose, grew up playing these games in the arcades. They weren't available in home consoles for quite a while.
Yeah.
But yeah, so a lot of the older things in the Street Fighter scene.
It's gone. I don't know.
Oh no!
Obviously grew up using the arcade layout. So that's why it's still popular.
Yeah.
And then you see a lot of the pro players, the sponsored players, winning some of the biggest tournaments out there, your Evos, your Capcom Cups, using arcade sticks.
Was there any videos I've watched? Never seen anyone sit with pad anymore. It's everyone's
there are still a few of the top players use pad. A lot of the UK good players still use pad. Luffy, who won Evo 2 years ago, is a French player who still uses a pad. So you still get players using pad. It's not to say that. I wouldn't necessarily say stick is better. It's all just personal preference. I think it's a bit of a case of you can learn to play on pad if you try playing on pad, or you think that pad has some sort of advantage. Yeah, it's doable and does work, but a lot of people do want to try out using an arcade stick.
I feel like the big players kind of see me play quite nice. still it's terrible. But like, so recently playing this with a pad, I kind of started to into my own community. And I feel like I'm just like,
Yeah, well, when someone does get a pad for the 61st time, you do have to relearn all the muscle memory.
Yeah.
Fighting games are all about muscle memory. And that's why some people do prefer using the stick, because it's, if you think when you're using pads, you're limited to normally say 3 fingers.
Yeah.
Unless I'm wrong, not really played at high. I'd argue if I play at high level at the moment, but I've not really played at sort of properly with a pad, if you will. But when I did used to play on pad, I only ever used my thumb on the face buttons, and
so even like jumping.
so a lot of players, you sort of have your thumb and your 2 buttons. I suppose some people possibly use the button, but with a stick, I personally find that it's more like playing a piano.
Yeah,
It's sort of
makes
the
sense.
buttons are there, and it's very quick to move. If you think moving your thumb, you're using one digit for 4 buttons. On this, it's a lot more spread out. So that's kind of where the popularity comes in. It's not to say, as I said, either's works fine. It's all down to personal preference. But in someone like your position, where you're keen to try out an arcade stick, you don't want to fork out 200 quid for one of these.
Yeah, I'd rather
To then find out a couple of weeks later that maybe it's not for you. It's not an expense you want to pay out. I know when I first started using an arcade stick, I didn't want to pay full price. If you will.
No, it's not. It doesn't seem like you're getting sort of less quality for the less money. This from my standards.
When I first got my arcade stick, I went to a lot of forums. I did my research, and everyone kind of said you get what you pay.
Yeah.
But back then, I'd argue that was very true, because there wasn't any good sort of lower level alternatives. There was a Corey wireless PlayStation 3 stick that you can pick up about 35 quid, but you couldn't modify it. The buttons were terrible. I say I can't play until
That's abstracting.
and it definitely wasn't worth the money. Whereas with this Venom one, it's probably not as good as the Madcats ones out there. But you pay for what you get, but you're not wasting your money.
No, it's not like I paid the kind of money for this to then just look at it and go, this thing.
Yeah.
What saying of it is exactly what I need to just need to get through into learn my game a bit.
Yeah, the problems you're having now aren't to do with the stick.
Just like the button.
They're to do with the fact that you don't know what to do with the stick. Which, that comes practice. It took me over a month to get used to using the stick. Like, I used to play Akuma back on Street Fighter 4, and it took me a month before I could do what I could do on the pad on the stick. And that was pretty much religious sort of training. I do at least an hour every day.
It's basically what you said is you're going to take a jump and move over. It's going to
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't put the sort of effort in. They kind of go out, they buy a pad or a stick, should I say, and they pick it up and they automatically assume they're going to be awesome again because they've seen Daigo using a stick or whatever. As soon as I was using sticks, they go, it must be the stick that makes them so good. Yeah. And they go out, they spend all their money on a stick, and they're like, oh, I can't use it, I'm terrible. And they kind of don't necessarily realise that you have to put the time and effort in to learn it. If you've been playing Street Fighter for, you know, was it 25 years, whether it's been out now, 20 years, you know, if you grew up like I did playing it on consoles, you're used to doing all the inputs on pad, and it's all down to muscle memory, and you have to train your muscle memory to do different stuff with the stick.
It's just like trying to get used to not jumping. Yeah, it's just
This is going to be a new cross counter mechanic for Street Fighter.
I love the jumping. Yeah. I think one practice is good to see personally, I think it's really good.
Yeah, as long as you keep up with it, I think there's no reason you won't.
Yeah, you like saying like someone takes trains to sort of go into training mode and try and block the moves sort of 10 times a row.
Yeah, you literally just have to grind the inputs. It's not necessarily the most exciting thing in Street Fighter. Most people want to go and bodies and falls.
That's what it's like anything. You've got to go through that.
I think what a lot of people do kind of, and I think rightly kind of associate with it, it's like playing an instrument.
Yeah.
But I think, you know, we can probably pretty much wrap up there. We've covered most of the stuff there is to do with the stick. Like I said, I'd say for people who, as a sort of roundup, people who want to get into using an arcade stick and haven't done so before, this is a good place to start.
Yeah,
absolutely. You can buy it relatively cheap, and it does the job well. If you're sort of someone maybe a bit more like me who wants a bit better kit, it's sort of optional, because either you can get one of these and upgrade it with the Sanwa or Sumitsu parts.
Yep.
And because the printed circuit board inside works regardless, the only difference between this stick and this stick is the stick and button components and the case itself.
Yeah.
Other than that, there's not a lot of difference. It's still a good size and a good weight, so you can play with it. And the main difference, really, as I say, is the case and the components. So if you're a new player or a new stick player or looking to get into arcade sticks,
I was going to say this is something we spoke about for the last 6 months.
We've been chatting about you potentially getting one of these since it first came out. It is, I believe, relatively easy to change the buttons in this. Perhaps not quite as simple as a case like my one, which has got a single button and opens up, but you just have to undo a few screws. I've done it on my old sticks before, relatively easy. And if you are an existing stick player and you want to get a PS4 compatible stick, this is one of the cheaper options out there. And as I said, you can get it, upgrade the buttons. If you've got an older stick, you could easily take the buttons and stuff out of that, put it in. There's a lot of options. Yeah. The artwork's nice and easy to change, which is always a bonus. And I think generally, for the price, it does what it says on the tin.
Nice. There you go. Go get yourself one if you think about moving over.
And don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe. Everything Darkworld Gaming.
Yep.
Keep on gaming.
Pleasure as always, guys.